This is Dave Burkett from the Detroit Free Press, and you're listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports.
SportsRadioDetroit.com.
We don't need TV to entertain us. He said anus.
You actually have to contribute.
Wow. You're welcome.
Send a couple tweets, Dave.
You know what?
Get the job done.
You know what, guys? You're welcome for every guest ever.
Darren McCarty will be joining us to talk about, I don't know, what the fuck ever. If Mickey Redmond hadn't chosen hockey as his profession, he would undoubtedly be a lumberjack.
True. Absolutely true. Or he would have played one on TV.
I must have been bombed.
You were very bombed.
Because I don't remember that at all.
Was she a good sport about it? Did she enjoy your antics?
Yeah, she giggled a little bit.
Yeah, and she's a nice gal.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Knocked away deflected by Charles Matthews. A turnover. They go for Matthews. Beautiful feed. And they get the flush.
Hot air balloon that could go to space.
Matthews with a lot of size around him.
Moore's got his hand caught in the cookie jar.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
Matthews step back triple. Beautiful move and better patience by Matthews.
Happiness is you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel.
In the country and assist a turnover. Simpson. Drive and a feed. Robinson's three.
Should probably warn you I'll be just fine.
Take me through the final seconds of this game. Why didn't you guys foul?
What are you talking about?
Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know. If I catch you well, I'll pass out on the floor now, baby. You won't bother me no more. And if you're drinking, well, you know that you're my friend, and I'll say, I think I'll have myself a beer.
Oh, wow. Not a good time to get something stuck in your throat. Think that's what Stormy Daniels said? Hey!
That's always a good time for her. For her, it's always good.
Welcome to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. David Faze, Mike Tripp, and myself, Dan Griffin, invading your ear hole, as always, on SportsRadioDetroit.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever the hell you listen to podcasts. And please go to SportsRadioDetroit.com right this instant, as round 2 of the Detroit's top female personality brackets are underway.
I voted.
Did you?
I did.
Already?
I did.
I didn't vote yet.
I voted this morning.
I haven't voted for anybody yet. There are a couple that are killing it, and a couple that are razor thin.
Well, I mean,
early on.
I noticed in looking,
God, Allison Martinick's got a hell of a following.
I noticed
Jesus
looking
Christ.
at the the second round matchups that there were some comebacks to a certain degree.
Yeah, Lauren Jabbar came back.
That was one of the ones I noticed.
But that was always close.
It was.
Her and Denise Isaac were right there, nose to nose.
Glad to see Carolyn Clifford get through.
Yeah.
Carolyn's great.
Glenda didn't get through, but we kind of expected that.
Well, Kelly Rowe just ran away, man. Just kind of demolished.
She could win the whole thing.
And then what the hell were we thinking? I think we already talked about this, but what were we thinking when we made our brackets, putting Anne-Marie LaFlame against Heather Park?
I don't know, but
why did we do that?
Anne-Marie did not get sufficient votes to even hang in there against Heather Park.
Heather Park just blew her out of the water.
Yes, she did. Almost
good for Heather.
Almost like Michigan over Texas A&M. Very close.
Texas A&M, yes.
Yes.
I was gonna,
yes.
I heard it wrong, and I was like, wait a minute, that game was close.
You're not going to shit on mine and Jeff's parade, are you? Our team's in the Final Four. And yeah, Michigan.
No, I thought you were just claiming that they blew out that
other team.
Yes,
that other team,
Florida State
from Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah, I mixed up the teams.
It was
so
still,
no, I'm not going to rain on your parade.
It was still a happy day. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, well, to all my Spartan friends, it looks like our schools have just gone ahead and traded places. You're the football school now, and we're the basketball school, and that's just the way life is right now. That's just we're going to have to deal with that for a little while, I think.
I think the Spartans' reign as the football school is going on a little bit longer here.
But I'm saying now they've officially traded places.
Well, I mean, MSU has been to a Final Four within this same time frame that Michigan has been really good, so I don't know that it's quite the same.
But they've also had quite a few first-round bounces.
They've had a couple of first-round
not first
issues,
round, but
they've had a couple of early-round issues.
First weekend bounces.
They've had a couple of early-round issues, absolutely.
But they've got the hype, right? Michigan State comes into the season with the hype and then lets you down. Michigan football comes into the season with the hype and then lets you down. Michigan basketball, year after year, I don't know how long it's going to take for us to really grasp the fact that John Beilein's one of the best coaches in the country. Well, I think we finally got that now.
I think the same way that I felt about Izzo's Final Four team a few years back with Travis Trice, as their senior leader. I feel the same way, and I think most Michigan fans should feel the same way about Beilein getting. And I don't mean in the sense that this Michigan team is absolutely talented enough to be in the Final Four, whereas I didn't think that Michigan State team had any business there, right? But where I'm going with this is that I think this should be the kind of cherry on top of the glowing legacy that Beilein is starting to build, because I don't think there's any question this is his best coaching job at Michigan. I mean, he got to a championship game once. He may get there again this year. But that first time
he also had the player of the year.
That first time he had a very talent-laden squad. Not to say it takes a lot to get there, but he had more discernible overall talent on paper on that squad, right? But I just think this team has just come together amazingly well.
All I can say is this.
And they're playing defense.
Keep feeding Chuck.
Well, you know what?
Give the ball to Chuck Matthews every time down the floor.
Didn't we talk about this guy before the year started? At the end of last year, me, you, and Jeff were talking about how this is a kid who was a 4-star recruit for Kentucky. That
I agree with this decision.
At any other program, obviously including Michigan, any other program in the country, he'd have been a starter, and he was like the 5th man off the bench because Kentucky is insane, right?
Yeah.
So this kid transfers.
You mean that the team that was supposed to beat Michigan?
Yeah. But well, we'll never know. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. Michigan played really well against Texas A&M, so I have a feeling they would have beaten them if they played like that. But it was interesting to realize Matthews had a good year. I don't think Matthews over the course of the regular season had a tremendous year, but man, has he been phenomenal for them in this tournament.
No, I mean, Charles Matthews throughout the season was he was almost fourth fiddle. When you think
to a certain degree.
Wagner,
yeah.
God, what the fuck? I just turned into Jeff Mell and called him Wagner. That's what I just did.
Wagner and Rockman are the two guys for most of the year, and are still
this is Brittany Wagner with.
Are still obviously very much within. They're still very much within the game plan. But Matthews is just
Wagner and Abdur Rahman were the guys, right?
Yep.
And then you can almost through most of the year you could almost, especially when Michigan started to get good again, when they finally got it figured out after the Northwestern loss.
Yep.
You can almost argue that Charles Matthews was playing fourth fiddle behind Xavier Simpson.
Oh, it's certain games, absolutely.
Because, and here's the thing, like Chuck's out there, throwing down all the points, but the difference in this tournament, without question, has been Xavier Simpson. I mean, without Xavier Simpson, you don't win a game like you just did against Florida State. And this is what makes me really, really confident in this team. So you play a tight one against Houston.
I don't know, man. They gotta go beat Sister Jean.
Oh God, we'll get into that in just a goddamn minute.
Sorry.
I don't want to say anything really terrible about a 98-year-old woman, but I'm about to say something really terrible.
No, just continue with your trajectory. We'll move on.
No, you go out against Houston, and you win a game on a miracle shot, and we talked about it on Thursday, the Destiny shot, which then turned into talks about 90s divas. That was a good show. I had a lot of fun doing that show. Are we going to be able to match that today?
I don't know. I don't know.
I really doubt it.
Who knows?
You got the Destiny shot. Then you go out and you bomb Texas A&M. And then you come out and you grind out another one against Florida State. So now multiple times Michigan has done it just grinding it out. Just finding a way. And this was a game where, Michigan's shots, really, they weren't falling. And in the past, what did we always say about Beeline teams? If they're not making their shots, they're not winning basketball games. That has not been the case.
You know why?
They're finding a way to win without making their shots.
One word. It's a single word. Grit. This team has grit that Beeline teams, as far as, in my opinion, have not had.
You go back to before the Big Ten tournament last season when that Michigan team was called soft.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of all started right there. They go out and they win the Big Ten tournament. They win a couple games in the NCAA tournament.
Well,
and last year, Michigan's team, wasn't as good as this one.
Well, and it was an interesting, obviously, a dynamic with the whole plane crash thing, and that was a part of it too. That kind of gave them a certain sense of energy, right? But yeah, I mean, they definitely were getting called soft for sure.
David looks like he's going to throw up.
No, I just don't want to spend the time to listen to the whole song. It's just too much time.
They are the true champions of the West region. You like that call at the end of the game? Get the fuck out of here.
This tournament, man. This tournament has been, it's tough to put into words.
It has been out. Are you ready to use the term team of destiny yet?
No.
Well, they're not going to face Kentucky. Duke lost, Dave.
I still think Villanova.
Oh, Villanova. Now we got Villanova left. Now what happens when Kansas beats Villanova and Michigan has to play Kansas?
Dude, I don't know, because Kansas was the weakest number 1 seed to me when the tournament started. I did not like them at all, and now one of the least heralded / least talented groups that Bill Self has had might be one of his best teams. It's just the way that this tournament is going. It's bizarre, absolutely bizarre.
One side of the bracket's got 2 number 1s. The other side's got a 3 and an 11.
The 3 is relatively normal. That's not a weird seed to make it there, but the 11 is a bit of an outlier there. Although I do think the year that what would it have been, 06? I think George Mason was a 10 or an 11 when they got to the Final Four too.
They were 12.
Were they that far?
I believe they were a 12.
Oh, they were low. I know that.
Because didn't they bounce Michigan State in the first round?
First round, they sure did. I think State was a 6 that year though.
Well, either way, okay, you might be right. They might have been an 11.
They were a 6. Yeah.
I'm not going to look at it because I don't care enough.
What we got the Mike Tripp research desk.
The
Mark Richter. No,
the Mike Search Tripp department.
It's like a weird tongue twister. Anyway,
are you there, Mike?
I'm looking at.
He's getting it.
I'm looking at it.
We'll just wait. Who cares?
Yeah, George Mason 11.
They were an 11.
Right.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough. Fine enough. Wonderful. Great.
Yeah.
Grand. All I know is, with what's played out for Michigan already this season, the rest is just cake, because the way I feel about the Final Four is it's almost as good as a national championship. Like, that's the one way that I think college basketball is a little bit different than any other sport. Getting to the Final Four on its own is almost like winning a championship. It's almost right there on that plane, unless you're a legendary coach.
Well, that's what I say. Well, because apparently then that means that Tom Izzo is one of the best coaches of all time. He's got 7 Final Fours.
But I guess my point would be, I don't think you can ever consider a Final Four not a successful season. Like, I know people say, well, national championship or bust. It's like, dude, this is a fucking NCAA tournament.
There's about 3 or 4 programs in the entire country that probably would look at a Final Four without a championship and think it's an absolute failure. Those are like the Dukes, the Kentuckys. Those teams don't give a shit. I shouldn't say don't give a shit. Final Fours are nice. It's nice to hang banners, but you still feel like you didn't get where you're supposed to go. You know what I mean? But most teams, I think, as much as they're gonna tell you publicly, "Oh, we wanted to win the title," I think most teams are probably pretty comfortable if they make it to the Final
Yeah,
Four.
don't get me wrong. You're 2 wins away, and you're going up against a Loyola Chicago team that I'm not going to sit here and say Michigan's going to roll over them because they're in the fucking Final Four for a reason.
They played definitely their best game of the tournament so far on Saturday.
But do I like Michigan to
awesome.
win this game? Yeah, of course I do. Of course I like them to win this game.
Michigan's going to be favored
and get to the national championship game.
That's just the smart money.
And I definitely want it. I want this national championship.
I will tell you this. If Loyola Chicago plays the kind of defense they played this past Saturday, because the shots have been there all tournament long. That's a team that definitely is. It's very veteran-laden, and it has a lot of shooters. If they play defense like they played on Saturday, this game will be really interesting and fun to watch.
You could be looking at a very similar outcome to what you saw with Florida State, a game scored in the high 50s.
Hey, look, at this point in the season, especially at the Final Four, I really just want to see good basketball. Like I would be really disappointed if either game is a blowout. I don't want to see any blowouts. I just think that would be really disappointing. I want to see close games either way.
I don't remember who it was, but I saw somebody on Twitter. And this gentleman was a prominent media member in the Detroit area, and this tweet really bothered me because it said something. Oh, you know who it was? It was T-Fost. It was Terry Foster. And I thought about tweeting at him, going, I don't know, Terry. I don't really agree with that, bud. I love you. You're a legend, but I'm not on board with that. He said something about this is why you don't want to see too many upsets in the NCAA tournament because Duke and Kansas is such a great game. And it's like, have you not watched Loyola Chicago throughout this tournament? Those have all been phenomenal basketball games.
What is he talking about?
I don't know. You probably go back and find it. I love Terry. He's a legend. He's a legend in this town. But I was like, I'm not with you there, bud.
How many lower seeds have made it through to some of the later rounds in this tournament and played some really good games when they went out, right? Like Texas Tech.
Well, Texas Tech was a 3.
They're a 3. But they I don't think, even though they were a 3, I don't think a lot of people picked them to go that far. I don't think a lot of people had them going as far as they went. They played really well. And then, of course, we had multiple 9 seeds make it through. I mean, it's been a crazy tournament. It's been really, but it's been awesome.
It's been, for the most part, really close, really good basketball. Like I was saying, I didn't fill out a bracket this year, and I don't regret it one bit. I don't regret it one bit because I didn't have to go through that depression of knowing your bracket's busted, and I just get to sit and watch good basketball.
So I believe that when we hit the Elite Eight, there wasn't a single bracket in the ESPN, like over 17 million entries, that had a correct Elite Eight. Now there was people that had some of the teams right, but not all of them. But then now that the Final Four is set, I think there's out of 17,300,000, there's 550 total brackets that have the correct Final Four.
And all 550 of those people are from the Chicago area.
Probably, yeah. That's probably a solid
Those
guess.
are the only people taking Loyola Chicago in the Final Four.
I did have them in the Elite Eight as a complete just bracket buster type of pick. I was just completely going on a whim, and so when they made it there, I was like, "Holy crap! How did I pick that one? I never picked those."
How hard are you going to be if Loyola Chicago beats Michigan on Saturday?
I'm not. I don't have like a vendetta against Michigan. I don't know why. I won't care. I want to see good basketball. If they win, it's a good basketball game.
Stop hiding your feelings, Dave. Trust your feelings.
I've never been a vindictive person, fan wise. I think that's why this show works. If I was, I don't think I'd be doing this show.
Probably not.
I farted on a church retreat.
That's how you know. That's how you know Dave's not vindictive.
Because I farted on
a church retreat. He farted on a church retreat. Well, it's the fact that you went on a church retreat is really all we needed to know about that.
I didn't even belong to that church.
Were you trying to bang one of the broads that went to that church?
No, it was like a non-denominational church that a bunch of my buddies were part of, and it sounded like a fun time. We're going to a water park and having a good old time, so I figured I'd just go. Why not?
Oh, yeah. How old are you, about 12?
No. I would have been about 17.
Oh, okay. So you were there checking out the fat girls at the water park.
Yeah, great. It's really great.
Mike, he doesn't even feed into it anymore.
Of course not.
He doesn't fight it.
No.
He doesn't go with it. I really wish you'd do one or the other.
Really screwing up your plan.
You're destroying the show. You're destroying the bit.
I'm laying waste to your best laid plans, man. I'm just.
Any sort of big cock would be all right.
I think a salad tossing might feel good. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I feel like a salad tossing might feel good.
We did learn something about Jeff Mel on Thursday, too.
Yes, we
did.
Like my women consensual.
So good.
I want to know exactly
know
how that came about.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Consensual.
The out of context is way better. because you should do I like my women consensual and then follow it up with smells like a Cypress Hill concert.
Like my women consensual. Smells like Cypress Hill concert in here.
And then you got to end it with the laugh.
Yeah. All right, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Like my women consensual. Smells like Cypress Hill concert in here.
That's all we don't even.
I know we don't need Jeff.
We don't ever need Jeff on the show ever again because we have those 3 drops of Jeff Mel.
Yep.
Although a couple of those drops probably applied for Jeff's reaction after Michigan won on Saturday. This was him.
I don't know why he was laughing.
Yeah.
That's just mean.
That's what he does. Okay, so Jeff was over here and we were watching the Texas A&M game, right? And obviously Michigan was playing great basketball. And every time that Michigan would drain a 3, first of all, Jeff would just yell, "Bang!" and then just start laughing his ass off. It's like he's like a little kid.
Is he Dick Vitale?
Yeah,
like, what is he?
Whoa, my bad.
He's like,
my bad.
Him watching Michigan win anything is like watching a little kid nude at Chuck E. Cheese. Just having a good old time, swinging his dick all over the place.
Just a little kid with like $10 running up to the ice cream truck.
And then
I can get 3 things out of this.
Is that kid taking a dump in the ball pit?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's Jeff. He's taking a dump in the ball pit. You can't have a better time than that as a child, taking a dump in the ball pit. You ever do that?
No.
I know I never did, but hearing that stories like that from friends who
Smells like Cypress Hill concert
have
in here.
worked at Chuck E. Cheese, oh my god, that scares the shit out of me now.
Mike,
You
random
gotta
question.
shut the whole thing down. It's like when the kid at the community pool takes a dump in the pool and they shut it down for 3 days and drain all the water out.
I have an on-air beer question for Mike. How is this year's rendition of Oberon?
It's pretty solid.
Because I didn't think last year's was that great. I thought last year's was a little weak.
I mean, this is supposed to say that spring is here.
Hey, it was
It's not feel-
it
it's
was
not
like 50
feeling
degrees
like-
today.
Yeah, at like what 4 o'clock
About
in the
4 o'clock.
afternoon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm still getting used to fucking time change.
Yeah. Same
Like
here.
it's like, I'm not one of those people generally to bitch about the time. Like I hate the time change. I think most people do, but it's hit me harder this year than it ever has before.
The older you get, the harder it hits you.
Oh my god!
It's like the same thing when you get sick. Like you get sick as an adolescent.
What the fuck is going on?
And you're over it within 24 hours. The same shit hits you as an adult.
I would just
late 20s or 30s, and it's with you for like a week.
I would just like
plus.
to point out the fact that Mike Tripp just used the word adolescent on this show. That is way too highfalutin for this show, Mike.
All right. When you're a child or a preteen or whatever the fuck you want me to describe a child.
You just preteen.
All right, I give up.
You all right, Dave?
I'm just looking at something that's gonna put your boner pants on.
Oh, good. Hold on. I got to get my boner pants ready. I can't find it. Go ahead.
That was really delayed.
Apparently, one Trey Burke had 40 points and 10 assists tonight.
He's back!
First Knicks point guard to do that since Steph Marbury in 2005. So that's, I think, more of an indictment on the Knicks than anything else.
Trey Burke put his Starburys on and went out there.
The fuck? Do you have a market like New York and you can't have a good point guard for going on 15 years? How?
And the last good one was
How?
Stephon Marbury.
How is that possible? I don't understand.
Oh my God, no.
Well, I think a lot of that's to do with James Dolan. I don't think most people want to play for him at this point.
All I can say is this: bring on Sister Jean. Bring her on, because we all know she's probably going to die as soon as this tournament's over.
Does anybody know that there's actually a team in Loyola Chicago and the players that played games and stuff? Like, does anybody know about this?
Oh, it's not just an old lady sitting on the sideline. She just runs the team.
I'm just asking.
Hey, dude, you know what? And it's not even so much Sister Jean as it is the media.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a problem with Sister Jean.
She hasn't done anything. She's just there. But the media has made it this fucking circus.
The media
with her.
has made me hope that John Teskey is diving for a ball near the sideline and just wipes out Sister Jean. And it's not Sister Jean's fault. She didn't do that.
As long as
she's not the reason I hate her.
Hey, as long as on her grave they place those really nice custom-made Nikes with her name on the back, that's all. It's the important part.
I always have to talk to her after the game, and she always says the exact same thing. Oh, they share the ball. They don't care who makes the points. They just win, and they just do it.
Back to the team. Oh, thank God. Thank God you did it, because we knew we would do it.
All senior citizens should have life alerts.
That we would do this. Our team is so great, and they don't care who
What is on
makes
her
the
lip?
points as long as we win the game. And
I realize she's 98, but what the hell is that
big W up
growth
there,
on her lip?
And we did.
I think it's like the reverse Pinocchio.
I was just speaking
it's like a
to you
pimple that's just going
about-
to keep growing because of all of her lives.
Oh, fuck. I'm so over it.
Hey, I guess they're right. Senior citizens, although slow and dangerous behind the wheel, can still serve a purpose.
So I'm going to tell you this. I know for sure that my wife will be rooting very hard for Loyola Chicago this weekend for two reasons.
I'm sure she will.
One, she is actually I'm not actually a state alum, right? She's actually a state alum, and unlike me, she's very unable to separate the whole Michigan State thing and be unbiased. She can't, and it's fine.
Plus, she loves Sister Jean.
But also, no, it has nothing to do with Sister Jean. Also, because the Loyola Chicago colors, it's Gryffindor from Harry Potter.
Oh,
so now she's all over.
My God.
Swear to God. I love my wife, but I was like, come on. I mean, that's not. This is the teenage girl that says I like this team because of the pretty colors.
And the mascots. I love Bulldogs. I'm going to take the Bulldogs to go all the way.
Which one? Which one of like 100 teams in the nation that are the Bulldogs?
Was it Kristen on St. Patrick's Day was saying she had a relative or something that likes Gonzaga for the name?
I don't know. I don't remember that. I haven't heard that.
Somebody was saying, or was it Katie? Something about a niece or something that they like. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
I mean, I would not be surprised if she said something like that. I don't know who said it.
God damn it!
We'll just go Katie.
It could have been.
We'll just go Katie.
And there was another one too. It wasn't. It was Gonzaga because they thought it's like a little girl or something thought the name was funny, and then there was something about something with the name with the word poop in it, or oh no, Butler. Butler because it has the word butt in it.
Oh gosh,
that would have been a great pick a few years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody doesn't need Kenny Loggins.
I did not mean to play that drop.
Kind of fit.
That was a total mistake. Anyway, Sister Jean, you're going down. You're going down, you old bag.
Is she gonna have her life alert on her?
She should have one on. Hopefully, there's one attached to that.
That's what that thing is on her lip. It's just a button. It's a life alert button.
No, that's the on and off button for her
mouth.
No, her
defibrillator.
No, what the hell is the pacemaker?
Oh. You're pointing to your tits.
Pacemaker.
She's got a nipple on her mouth. That's kind of what it looks like. It's kind of what it looked like to me.
That's odd.
Anyway, your Dukies lost.
Did you say my Dukies?
Yeah, because you wanted them to beat Michigan so badly. And by the way, they barely scraped by Syracuse. By the way,
I did not.
In case anybody missed that.
Okay, I never ever said I wanted them to beat Michigan. I said I would think that Duke would beat Michigan. But you're absolutely correct. They didn't. They certainly didn't. Beat the world beating Syracuse. They scraped by them, made it, but wasn't really very impressive. And they fell into, which is insane, They just happened to make a few more shots, but they fell into some of the same traps that Michigan State did. They're just shooting threes, going like, what is happening?
No, yeah, and you fully expected Duke to come out and be like, hey, they should be able to handle this zone. And you're right, they handled the zone almost exactly the same way that Michigan State did.
They did, so what is going on right now?
Difference was they made a few shots.
That's it. That's the entire difference. They made more of the shots than Michigan State did, but they played the game very similarly. So I would think you watched what Michigan State's downfall. Wouldn't you think that a coach as decorated as Krzyzewski would say, well, I don't think I'm going to play it that way?
Especially when he runs that zone too.
I know.
He runs the same zone. I mean, Boeheim's obviously a legend for it, and he's been doing it forever, but still, that little dwarf Krzyzewski should know how to handle it.
He looks like he's straight out of like a Hobbit film, doesn't he?
He looks like...
Do you think he's got really hairy feet?
He looks like one of those physically weak but mentally strong villains from a superhero movie.
He kind of looks like a less mangled-faced penguin.
It's like Dracula and Penguin combined.
Like if they hadn't been able to get Danny DeVito for that classic Batman film,
Coach
they could have gotten Krzyzewski.
Coach K would have been perfect for that.
He might have been too young at that point.
When Duke loses, America wins. That's just the way it is.
And you know, even more so,
Grayson Allen's career is over.
That's what I was going to say. Even more so, when Grayson Allen loses and it gets to be a pouty little bitch, America wins.
I think, was it Schuling that tweeted out earlier?
Who do you hate the most?
Who do you hate more, Grayson Allen or Christian Laettner?
100% Grayson Allen.
Yeah, for you, because he's part of your generation, but I think most people would still say Christian Laettner. Like, that really got a chance to watch Christian Laettner play.
Well, here's the thing. They're totally different players. Laettner was a little more of a physical guy. He was a little more of an in-your-face kind of a front court pit.
He was an asshole.
Allen was different. Allen was like a little schoolyard bitch. Like he just that's what I hate about him. Like what kind of a person gets a I shouldn't say gets a reputation. It wasn't a reputation. It was just a fact. Just starts fucking tripping.
Gosh, you're all making me so mad.
Like literally, you can watch this dude stick his leg out to trip a dude. You're going like, are you 5? What are you doing?
What's worse than that? Or what's worse, that or Draymond Green kicking people in the nuts for 2 seasons straight?
I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. It is pretty ridiculous.
Well, the thing is, the reason they're both assholes is because they would always look up and go, what did I do? Dude, you know what you did. Draymond, you just kicked a dude in the dick. And Grayson Allen, you just tried to make your opponent do a goddamn face plant in the middle of the floor. You're both assholes.
Grayson Allen's like the dukiest Duke player of all time.
I don't know, man. I still think it's Christian Laettner.
That's fine. It's all a matter of opinion. It's not. There's not a right or a wrong.
Because with Christian Laettner, it was like it legitimately was like a race issue with Christian Laettner. Like Duke back in those days, it was like Duke was the preppy, privileged kids, and then you had teams like UNLV and the Fab Five, that were the kids from the neighborhood.
Do you know who's like the least Duke player of all time? In my opinion, I shouldn't say of all time. I obviously don't know Duke since the 30s, but of anybody that I've watched in my actual generation of watching basketball, Shane Battier. It's too nice. Too damn nice to play for Duke.
A little bit like Grant Hill.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Here's the thing about Grant Hill. Of those early 90s Duke teams, like Grant Hill was like the only player that actually like came from like legitimate privilege.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that was a reputation Duke got. They're the preppy school in the middle of North Carolina, in the smack dab in the middle of Tobacco Road, and that's why everybody hated him.
By the way, I was mentioning we're watching Duke lose the other day, and Kristen's like, oh, I'm so happy to see Duke lose, right? And I was like, yeah, and then she said, Grayson Allen's done, right? Like he's a senior or he's leaving, or I was like, yeah, he's a senior, so he's graduating.
Ted Cruz's nephew, Grayson Allen,
illegitimate child. Maybe Krzyzewski and Ted Cruz had a baby, and it's Grayson Allen.
I think that's possible.
I think that might be it.
Test tube, baby.
That would make sense. Anyway, though, And so then I proceed to tell her, because she's excited that Duke's going to be out and that they're losing players, and obviously they're going to lose not just Grayson Allen, but they're going to lose probably Duvall, probably Marvin Bagley. They're going to lose a few guys, right? Maybe Gary Trent, potentially. We'll see. But I looked at her and I said, yeah, except for the fact that Duke's probably going to be the preseason number 1 next year because they're going to have the 3 top recruits in the entire nation. All 3 of the top 1, 2, and 3 in the nation are going to Duke in the same goddamn class. And she looked at me and she just goes, ugh. It's like, well, that's the reaction you're supposed to have.
You know what I just realized we didn't talk about with regards to the Michigan-Florida State game?
Oh,
the way it ended.
It was weird.
What in the hell was Leonard Hamilton doing? I texted you guys right as that was going. I'm like, they're really just going to let Michigan. I mean, I'm not complaining.
He was doing nothing.
But they're really just going to let Michigan dribble the clock out. And then the way he handled the post-game interview, if you're living under a mushroom and haven't seen this
yet.
He
could have walked away and been a total dick. At least he stayed.
What are you talking about?
Down the stretch there, the end of the game, the final seconds, 11 seconds left on the clock.
Do you think that the game came down to the final seconds of the game?
I'm asking you, though, why that decision in the final seconds of the game?
The game was over.
You didn't think your guys could get back in it on the line if they missed those shots?
I mean, but 15 seconds, what were we down?
Put them on the line and they miss a few shots.
You didn't even know how many they were down by.
Coach, a 4-point ball game. It's a question that the guys were asking at the end of our game. That's all I'm asking. It didn't come down to that in your mind.
I thought they did a great job. They had a great game plan.
Michigan.
With 14 turnovers in the first half. That was uncharacteristic of our team. And I think that you need to give them credit for what they did. Our kids fought their butt off to get back in a position, get themselves in a position where they had a chance to win. And I just want to give them the credit. I thought our kids fought very hard. They had a great year. The latter part of the game there, we was trying to get a foul on 3 of their kids.
He didn't even know where the hell he was, did he? He had no idea where he was or what he... If I'm a Florida State fan, I am irate about that. And then the way... Because all he had to do was just say, yeah, I didn't think we had a chance to win the game. He didn't have to, turn his back and fake like he was walking away and act disgusted that Dana Jacobson asked him that question. That's a fair question. That's a good journalistic question that Dana Jacobson asked him.
Yeah, he's just irritated and he didn't handle it well at all. Look, he's well within his right as a coach to be upset. I get that. I get it's emotional and all that.
What
stuff.
Are you talking about?
But you got to be professional with it. It's part of the job. Right, you got to be professional with these people, and I don't. She could have
paid $3 million to have that interview. It's part of the contract.
She could have asked him. Yeah, she could have asked him, "Why'd you wear this suit jacket tonight?" Right, and it's a ridiculous question.
That's an Aaron Andrews question.
It's a ridiculous question, but you still professionally answer it, or just say, "I'm not going to comment on that."
What are you talking about?
You can do that, and then she has to move on and ask a different question. Right?
He did just give us a permanent drop though for the rest of the time.
But in this instance. Yeah, it was an incredibly valid question for her to ask. She asked it very point blank. She wasn't. It's not like she was aggressive about her questioning. She was very. She asked it sternly but politely. She was fine. She did a great job. He just did not react well at all.
Dana's a pro.
Yeah, he didn't react well at all.
I love me some Dana Jacobson, but.
This is also his first time being subjected to the national media in this way because they've with him at the helm have never been to this stage. That's not an excuse.
It's already strange that he wouldn't foul a piss poor free throw shooting team in Michigan. I realize Duncan Robinson had the ball at the time. He's a 90% free throw shooter. All well and good.
Sure,
but even if he makes both, it's a 2-possession game. You go down, knock down a 3, and take away Duncan Robinson. Literally make Michigan pass the ball to anybody else on the floor. Anybody else on the floor. Very easily Michigan goes down and misses 2 free throws, and you've got a chance with a couple of seconds left to tie the game and send it to overtime.
By the way, you just mentioned a name that I actually meant to say something about earlier, and we've gone off on several different angles with this, but that's a kid who You talk about Michigan not being where they're at without Xavier Simpson. I mean, you're not where you're at without the contributions from everybody. I mean, that's just the way that the team game works, obviously. But Duncan Robinson, dude, this dude learned how to play defense all of a sudden, and now he's an incredibly valuable member of your team.
Wouldn't
when
be
he's
at
a guy
all
that come in,
surprised if my wife had her lips wrapped around his Johnson at some point.
Be a slight X factor in the sense that this is a kid who can knock down some threes, and at the end of a game, perfect example here, you got a kid who is a dead-eye free throw shooter, and if so, you put him on the court to get fouled at the end of a game, or not to get, but to have the potential of getting fouled if he has ball in his hands, kid's going to knock him down. One of the few guys that you can 100% feel good that he's going to knock him down.
Duncan Robinson's basically the epitome of a grown-up senior player.
Yeah, finally got there.
Because
he could always shoot.
Yeah, of course.
Which is the kind of a staple of a Beeline team.
He expanded his game. He's not going to be in the NBA, but he's been a nice senior player.
He'll go make himself some money in Europe.
I was just going to say he could probably play overseas. He probably will, and I hope he does. We were talking about Abdul Rahman, I think last week.
Yeah,
I think he can play in the league.
He's interesting. He's not huge. And I don't mean like build wise. He definitely has to put muscle on, which is funny. And you were saying the same thing, which is that for a guy who's a senior, you would think he'd been built up a little bit more. Not that he'd be huge, but that he'd be a little more built. He's still pretty thin for a senior player.
He could be a bench piece somewhere.
He can, because he's got a lot of intangibles. He's pretty smart. He sees the floor well. He can shoot. But in order to be able to get to the hoop a little bit at the NBA level, he's going to have to add some muscle to his body. But that's a lot of guys coming out of college. I mean, there's very few. That's why some of it's usually the super elite guys, and that's why they're part. That's part of why they're elite. Those are the guys that oftentimes have the NBA ready bodies, right? But there's not a lot of them.
That's what I think makes this team so good and so interesting. I mean, I think Michigan's really only got one surefire NBA player on its roster,
which is
Wagner. That's Mo Wagner.
Yeah, Wagner. And Wagner's going to be. Wagner's going to be a fascinating pro, too.
We were talking a little bit after the show last week, too, about the possibility of Wagner actually coming back for another season.
Well, I guarantee you they win this title, he ain't coming back.
I wouldn't. Well, that may be true.
I guarantee
if they don't win,
he might come back, but I still think
here's the thing, it always depends on how smart you are, right? Because if you're not a guaranteed top half of the draft pick, like Miles Bridges was last year and hurt himself by coming back,
I don't think his draft status changed at all. At all.
It certainly didn't get better.
No, but he was going to be a top 10 last year. He's probably right around the same spot where he would have been last year.
I'll stick with it. I think it's a mistake for somebody to take that kid in the top 10. But that's another. We're talking about Mo Wagner here right now, and this is a guy that. A lot of them, there are some mocks that don't even have him in the first round. Now, that may be because the person putting that mock together thinks that he's going to come back. But most of these mock drafts have Mo Wagner at the end of the first round. And if that's the case, why not come back? That is a kid that could certainly improve his stock. Another year of college basketball under his belt. Another year to bulk up a little bit because Mo has gotten certainly bulkier from last season, and I think he'll do it again going into next season. I really don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility for Mo Wagner to come back for another season.
Man, I don't know. I mean, the reason I believe that I find it very hard to believe he would come back is the fact that he entered into the discussion last year. The first year where they had the new rules where you had the ability to put your name in and be able to come back as long as you didn't hire an agent by whatever the deadline was. I don't know. I don't exactly know the date, but the fact that he entered his name into the conversation last year to gauge interest and to see where he stood really makes me think that unless something insane happens, like unless he gets hurt on Saturday or something,
Don't say that.
I'm not. I am not trying to hope for that at all. That's not what I'm just saying. Unless something like that happens,
my God, no!
I don't really see why he would come back. I don't. Unless he's not going to be a first round draft pick, I don't know why he would come back.
Because he's a guy that can.
He's helped take this team to a Final Four. We'll see how it plays out this coming weekend. If they win a championship, I just
And you don't think that if he can move from, being projected to go somewhere between 25 and 30 or 22 and 30 to possibly making himself a lottery pick next season.
But you don't know. He could come back next season and get hurt and screw his draft status
sure
up. You know
could.
what I mean? So
Look,
it's a gamble either way.
Here's the thing.
It's a gamble either way.
I'm not sitting here willing to guarantee that Mo Wagner's going to come back. I'm not, and if I'm putting a 60-40 on it, I'm going to say 60-40 he leaves for sure. But I don't think it's this certainty that Mo Wagner's not going to come back for another season.
Well, I feel strongly that he will not be back, but that's my opinion.
I mean, you don't want him to come back.
I don't care if he comes back. Why would I care if he comes back?
Because
Michigan will be better if he's back.
Yeah.
That's fine.
He will be better. They will be better.
That's fine.
They'll be a very good basketball
Why would that make
team.
me upset that Michigan's better? I don't understand why that would make me upset.
It gives the Spartans a better chance if he's not here.
I don't want the Spartans to have a chance because they skate through.
No, but here's the thing. If you look at it like I look at it, I wanted Miles Bridges to leave last season.
You guys beat us twice with Miles Bridges, so what do you care?
I understand that, but I didn't know that going into the year.
To be honest with you, of the two guys for Michigan State, I love Miles, and I think we disagree completely on where we think his pro career is at, and that's fine. But of the two guys that are the studs for MSU that are projected to leave, there's been no conversation completely about either one yet. I expect them both to go. But of the two guys, the one that I would like to see back way more, to be honest, is Jaren Jackson. Michigan State next year.
That's definitely not going to happen.
I don't think that's 100% true. I don't.
You think that Mo Wagner is certainly going to leave, but you don't think that Jaren Jackson's going to leave.
I will tell you why there's a possibility that Jaren Jackson doesn't leave. It's two things. One, his family has a super, super high value on education and getting an education. And I understand a lot of guys will leave after a year of college for whatever sport, come back later in life and get their degree and all that stuff, and that's great. But his family very much values education. And two, whereas a lot of these kids are not necessarily coming from a lot of money, a lot of the kids are going to high in drafts. Not every one of them, but a lot of them are not coming from families that are super duper well off. Jaren Jackson's family is not in need of money. Not to say that they all have $5, $6, $7 million, whatever he would make in the draft, but they don't need him to go to support them and get a bunch of money. So it really 100% is about what he is going to want. And if he decides, look, I know that I'm not big enough, I'm going to have to sit on a bench or I'm going to have to sit in the G League for a while, would I rather do that and yes, make some money, or would I rather stay one more year in college, bulk up a little more, hone my skills, play with my brothers, my boys, and then go next year? I don't think it's that insanely outlandish a thought to think he might come back.
I mean, you realize that on most mocks he's higher than Miles Bridges, right?
I 100% know that. Yeah.
So
I know that.
Why in the name of all that is fuck would Jaren Jackson ever have to spend time in the G League?
Because he's not big enough to play on a NBA back or NBA front court on a nightly basis right now.
Yeah, but if he's taken in the top 5, there's no way in hell he's getting sent to the G League. Unless he comes into the league and is that bad, and he pulls a Kwame Brown or something like that, and he has to get sent to the G League.
He'll be fine defensively, but
there's going to be no plan for Jaren Jackson to spend any time in the G League, and he's going to get paid.
If he goes to a team that plays him the way that somebody like a Stan Van Gundy has played rookies over the course of time, I don't think it's that great for him, because that's Stan is a guy. I think Stan's done a lot of good things in his career as a coach, but one thing
we don't have to worry about him coming here.
One thing I'm not talking about that.
I'm just saying.
One thing. Stan's not the only guy that limits rookie playing time. There's a lot of guys that do it.
Larry Brown.
But that's one thing about Stan that I haven't liked since he's been here, is that I feel like over the course of time he has very much held back rookies.
I mean, he does,
and I don't like it.
He did love him some Stanley Johnson.
I don't like it.
Almost as much as you love Stanley Johnson.
But he didn't start Stanley. He gave Stanley some. I mean, he was in the rotation, but he also put Stanley in a spot where Stanley wasn't doing what Stanley should have been doing. He's trying to make him a spot-up shooter on the three-point line, which is not Stanley at all.
He's also not good, but that's
Stanley.
Yeah,
Stanley's a phenomenal defender.
Yes, I understand that,
and he is. Look. To say he's not good is an unfair statement. Is he what people projected him to be? No, he's not. But he's not a bad player. He's just not a very good offensive player.
And he's not a very good piece for this team.
That I will agree with that. I will agree with that. And it's because this team, the way it's constructed, needs shooters around their pieces, and that's not what he is.
All right, so here we go. Pick one. More likely to come back, Jaren Jackson or Mo Wagner?
I will say Mo, but it's very close.
I was about to call you a maniac.
It's very close. I know Jackson had a meeting. Jackson and his family had a meeting with Tom Izzo this week at the end of last week to discuss what's best for him.
Actual audio from Jaren Jackson. I say actual audio from.
I'm
there we
good
go.
to go now. I'm good to go, man. Shit.
But we'll see. I mean, look. And here's the other part. Miles Bridges was projected somewhere between 5 and 8 last year, right? Somewhere in that range from everything that I saw. Did anybody, you included, think there was a chance in hell Miles Bridges was coming back?
No.
So that's why I don't think it's that. With that having happened and the landscape of things, I don't think it's an insane thought that Jackson would come back.
But
I don't.
I also think from that perspective,
I'm not expecting it.
Miles Bridges was kind of a unicorn. I mean, even his own coach didn't think he was coming back.
Well, so is Jaren Jackson. The fact that he even went to state in the first place, to be honest. I mean, let's be real about this. That's the one of the highest rated recruits. It might be the highest rated recruit that Jackson or Izzo's ever gotten. And big guys like Jackson, with the kind of offers that he had, which was basically anybody he wanted to go to would take him. Those guys haven't traditionally. Those are the kind of guys Izzo, previous to getting Bridges, those are the kind of guys that Izzo has really struggled to try to get to state. He's been right in the running till the very end with so many of these guys, and every one of them has picked Duke or Kentucky or Louisville or one of those schools, right? So he's missed out on a lot. So to get Jackson was huge for him. So look, we'll see. I'm not sitting here expecting Jackson to come back, but I'm just making a statement. I don't think it's a crazy thought that he might.
All right, we got to go to break. Don't forget to go to sportsradiodetroit.com and vote for all your favorite ladies. Check out all the other wonderful content. And we got some stuff coming up. This has been one of those light note days for me. Sometimes those shows are good, sometimes they're not. We'll find out in the second half of the show. David Faze, Mike Tripp, and myself, Dan Griffin. Out of Bounds Detroit Sports, sportsradiodetroit.com. Do not go away.
Like my women consensual.
Hey, this is Darren McCarty, 4-time Stanley Cup champion with the Detroit Red Wings. You're listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports on sportsradiodetroit.com.
We're pretty much ready to go here with this podcast.
The hell is a podcast?
This is the rhythm of the night. The night. Oh, yeah. The rhythm of the night. This is the rhythm of my life. My life. Oh, yeah. The rhythm of my life.
Yeah! Welcome back! Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. David Faze, Mike Tripp, and myself, Dan Griffin, invading your ear hole on sportsradiodetroit.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever the hell you listen to podcasts. Please leave us a rating and review. Follow us on Twitter at OB_DetSports. Follow Sports Radio Detroit at Sports Radio DET. I hope you were able to gather all that information because I'm not repeating it again.
Excuse me, could you repeat that, please?
Some people have got to wonder where the hell our music comes from.
Comes from right here. Comes from the heart, Dan.
Where I found this was that I open up Apple Music and it just says featured Night at the Roxbury soundtrack. I'm like, you can't lose with that.
I kind of thought maybe you did the musical version of like searching for a GIF or a meme. You just type in a phrase and just populates all sorts of random shit.
Apple Music's weird like that. It'll just throw random shit at me. I'll be like, well, you can't go wrong with that. We'll just go with that.
You ever do that though? Where like you go to like your the GIF thing on your messages or whatever, and you're like just trying to find something funny. You type in a word or a phrase, and a couple of things it comes up with. You're like, how in the hell does this relate to what I just typed in?
Oh no! Or that random Pandora song.
Yeah.
Like you're listening to like Metallica and like Travis Tritt starts playing for some reason. It's a great soundtrack. We had 90s divas last time. Now we're doing 90s dance music.
You know what we got to do? One is God, there were early 90s ESPN jock jams.
Ah, yes.
Jock jams.
Hey, by the way, happy March 26th to you guys. The anniversary of the greatest hockey fight of all time.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See? Every once in a while, I bring something good to the show.
Wow. Why the fuck didn't you tell me we could have called D-Mac? When would have been a better time to have Darren McCarty on the show?
I know. He's probably high as balls right now.
Who cares? Let's call him. Where's your phone?
I mean, it's right here. I don't know if I don't know if cold calling D-Mac is the best possible thing you can do.
Just say we could just call him and tell him happy anniversary.
Oh man, I don't know if we want to risk that. Do we want to risk that?
I don't care.
He lost all his contacts.
We can always just wait till next year. Did he really?
When I texted him about the 200th episode, the first thing I got back was, "Who is this? Lost all my contacts." And I was like, no.
He said, who dis? He gave you a who dis?
I got a who dis. How dis do that?
New number, who dis?
We never really did find a really good use for that.
We got to figure out.
Disappointing.
No, we have to ask Darren McCarty how the hell he lost all of his contacts. It had to be something marijuana related, right?
Probably like dropped his phone in a bong or something.
I hope that's what happened.
In the water basin. That'd have to be a big bong though, wouldn't it? To lose your entire phone in that?
Oh yeah, it would have to be.
I thought about that as soon as I said it.
That fight turned 21 today.
It can drink! It's legal now! Oh, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted the actual video of the fight.
This is going to show you the history.
It's just going to show me stupid. It's just going to... There we go.
First time back.
You're going to have to fast forward this shit.
Oh, yeah. I got it. I got it.
The draw, they scored!
Because it starts... I just love the fact that you almost forget it starts with Forsberg and Larionov.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Holding the Red Wings in their own zone. Larionov and Forsberg away from the play.
And then Darren just makes a beeline.
Swipe at Igor Larionov. And it is an offense.
And it looks so tame right there at the beginning. And then...
But he did, and now Darren McCarty gets his shots in at Claude Lemieux. And look who came all the way out to try to help. Patrick Waugh. Oh, my goodness. You never know when to expect it, Darren McCarty said before.
And then you come to find out later, Mickey Redmond missed the whole thing because he was on his way down to the bench.
Follows up with the right.
Vernon made Waugh look like an idiot.
How about this? Lemieux was hammered by Darren McCarty, and he is being helped into the locker room. They are on their feet here at Joe Louis Arena. 301 days.
You know how much Darren must have loved the fact that when he was in the penalty box and Larionov comes in, probably the only time he ever in his life got to tell Larionov, "Nice job, good fight."
That's probably the only time that might be the only time in Larionov's career he actually sat in the penalty box.
Yeah, it might have been.
He had 5 penalty minutes his whole career.
They probably should have renamed the Selkie after him.
Didn't Larionov get an instigator penalty on that one too?
He probably did.
If
Does
I
he give
remember
a shit?
correctly,
He doesn't care.
Man,
he just wanted Forsberg off his ass.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Because you don't see that shit anymore, man.
Dude, that rivalry.
It does happen. People get suspended forever.
I challenge anyone to think of a better rivalry in like the last 30 years than that rivalry. Because it was so goddamn talent-laden. That was the thing. Like, yes, there was a lot of hostility, but there is so many unbelievable players on those two teams. It's like a who's who when you go back and look at those rosters. It's incredible.
Well, and not to mention, it was the end of old-time hockey, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That era, that was the end of old-time hockey where guys, like, legitimately held grudges.
Well, yeah, because
300-something days after the hit on Chris Draper, and, you know...
rearranged his face.
You've heard Darren McCarty talk about this before. I think we've talked about it with him before on the show. Like, he waited for that day. He waited for that day. Over a year later... a chance to pick his shot, and that's probably why he was congratulating Larionov, because thanks, dude, you finally gave me an opportunity to blindside this motherfucker.
Darren McCarty, good buddy to have.
Yeah.
It's a good buddy to have.
Yeah, even today, probably.
Probably.
Probably engage in the fisticuffs.
Yeah. He got your back.
You should text him, see if he wants to talk about the anniversary. Give it a shot.
You want to text him now?
You can at least text him. Tell him we're live. We forgot about the anniversary and we apologize. At least wish him a happy anniversary. Like he doesn't know. Like he doesn't know what today is. We don't have that much else to talk about. Unless you want to talk about Stormy Daniels.
Well, problem is I didn't watch that interview. So.
You didn't watch any of it? You didn't even see the... Dude, there was some creepy shit about that fucking interview. Not like the whole affair between Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump, because I don't give a shit about that. I even as somebody who doesn't like Donald Trump, I really don't give a shit that he plugged a porn star. It just doesn't register on my radar. It was some of the things that she said that he said.
It started off all about him, just talking about himself, and he's like, "Have you seen my new magazine?"
He was showing you his own picture on the cover of the magazine.
Right. And so I was like, does this normally work for you? And he looked very taken back, like he didn't really understand what I was saying.
Hold on, this is boring, but it gets weird.
Talking about yourself normally work? And I was like, someone should take that magazine and spank you with it. And I'll never forget the look on his face. And he was like,
what was the look?
Just, I don't think anyone's ever spoken to him like that, especially, a young woman who looked like me. And I said, give me that. And I just remember him going, "You wouldn't." I was like, hand it over. And so he did.
It's a great green screen, by the way.
Turn around, drop him.
You told Donald Trump to turn around and take off his pants.
Yes.
And did he?
Yes. So he turned around and pulled his pants down.
Hold on. Can I just pause this and just point out for a second how interested Anderson is at this point in time? Because that was the picture that I showed you of Tony Paul's tweet last night. Did you see that one?
Oh yeah.
It's like as if Anderson Cooper's never asked a lover to bend down so he can spank him with a magazine with his own face on the cover.
Right.
He's probably got him ready. Anderson's got magazines with his own face on the cover, just rolled up, ready to go.
A little, he had underwear on and stuff, and I just gave him a couple swats.
This was done in a joking manner.
Like he's a fly.
And,
right.
From that moment on, he was a completely different person.
How so?
Wait, it gets
weird.
weird.
Talking about himself, and he asked me things, and I asked him things, and it just became like, a more appropriate.
Became more comfortable.
Yeah. He's like, "Wow.
Wait, here it is.
You are special. You remind me of my daughter."
Oh, God, there it is.
Smart, beautiful, and a woman to be reckoned with.
There it is. That is it. If what she just said is true, it is a fact of it is just a fact of life that Donald Trump would legitimately bang his own daughter. Didn't we already have that conversation once before?
Yeah.
What was he on the Today Show? He's like, "Oh, if Ivanka wasn't my daughter, I'd probably date her." Here we go. Here's another one right on top of it.
There's many instances of things like that he said.
It's just so fucking weird.
Over the course of time.
You remind me of my daughter. Because I believe her. I believe Stormy Daniels. I just don't care. But the part that was weird about the whole thing is how she keeps saying, like, she's not a victim and she doesn't like that the Me Too movement is using her as a platform. And it's all well and good that she says that. But then she goes on to say that she didn't want to have sex with him and she felt cornered. in the hotel room on their first meeting.
Well, I mean...
No, that's what she said in this interview.
No, I'm not saying like you're paraphrasing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that might be the case, that she felt that she felt like she didn't really want to, but she also basically at that point then is admitting, I could have said no and could have not done it, but she still did it. Is basically what she's saying. So that's why she's saying she's not a victim.
If you listen to what she says, it kind of makes it sound like she couldn't have said no.
Well, then
you got to go back and watch it.
Then why would she say she's not a victim?
That's what's weird about it.
Unless she truly believes she's not.
That's what's weird about it. I don't understand it. It's very, very odd. It was very Weinstein-y to me. But then at the same time, it was also very, there was a lot of it could have or maybes coming from her story. Like, there are definitely holes in her story, but I totally believe he fucked her. Like, I don't think there's any question about that. And who cares? As long as it was consensual, I really don't give a shit. And I hate Donald Trump. I don't care. I'm not going to do the whole Clinton cigar stuffing thing that the Republicans did during that whole deal. Plus, he wasn't president yet.
Well, definitely explain why Melania doesn't like him.
Yeah, their relationship was down the tubes long before Stormy Daniels. Of course, wasn't she like 10 months? I almost said 10 months pregnant. Wasn't she like 2 or 3 months pregnant with Barron
she's
when
an
this
elephant
happened?
now.
When this allegedly happened?
Aren't there? There's some animals that have super long pregnancies. Some have like 18 months. I think elephants are one of them.
You sure you want to do this, man? You're drunk.
I'm drunk. You're drunk. Everybody's drunk.
But actually, this 60 Minutes does kind of tie into sports. Because you know what the other story was from 60 Minutes last night, other than Stormy Daniels? Did a piece on, I'll give you a hint. He's my favorite NBA player.
I'm listening.
Any guesses as to who this piece was on?
Your favorite NBA
Who's
player?
my favorite NBA player?
Dennis Rodman.
He's a current player.
Steph Curry.
No, Dave. You know that's not right. I've talked a lot about his team. You don't think his team's as good as I think it is. I think they're better than the Pistons. You're not so sure.
I know who it is. It's Antetokounmpo.
It's Giannis. They did a piece. I learned some things about Giannis that I never would have dreamed, and it just made me love him even more. Like the fact that he came up broke as fuck in Greece, and when he went to get and when scouts went to go see him, he was basically playing professional basketball in like a YMCA gym with like 30 seats in the stands.
By the way, I undercut it. Elephant gestation period is 22 months.
Did you really just look that up?
Yeah. I had to know. I had to know if I was correct or not.
God damn it.
Big ass animal gotta sit inside that womb for a while.
That's true. It's got to bake.
It's a huge animal. Anyway, continue.
It's like a bigger version of a turkey. Got to bake a little bit longer.
Sure.
Got to bake humans like a ham.
But if
you got to bake a turkey a little bit longer than you got to bake a ham.
If you stuff an elephant, you're a murderer and you're going to prison.
You're a murderer. Oh, what I was saying about Giannis, if you didn't love him already, you'd love him after watching the 60 Minutes piece, because this dude was an absolute nobody. Like, there were guys in his league in Greece, this little shit nothing league in Greece, that were actually better basketball players than he was. But what was noticed about Giannis was first of all, his mammoth fucking hands. When he holds a basketball, it's like he's holding a goddamn cue ball. And the other thing was just his raw ability. And when he was drafted, he didn't even know that he needed to wear a suit to the draft. He didn't know anything about the NBA. He didn't know anything about Milwaukee. And now, after being in Milwaukee as long as he has, and knowing what I know about Giannis now, he may actually stay in Milwaukee. He may not be a superstar that takes off for LA or New York or Miami.
Because he's a small-time guy?
He doesn't have really any interest in the big city. It's almost like Milwaukee was almost a perfect marriage for Giannis.
Well, you know what's funny,
is there a smaller market in the NBA? Maybe Utah?
Well, I was the only thing that's funny is that some of the bigger markets now are not the teams that are ready to win either. That's the other weird thing about it. Like you look at New York, you look at LA, you look at even San Antonio, which was a smaller city.
No, but all it takes is a few superstars getting together and deciding, hey, let's go play here. That's all it takes.
I could see him going to a team like Denver. Denver's got some good young pieces. That's where I would look at him to possibly go as a team more like that, not necessarily going to New York or going to LA.
No, but could Milwaukee be a place where he could draw in another superstar, maybe one more superstar,
maybe?
If that's truly where he wants to stay, there's no reason why any player in the NBA should not want to go play with Giannis Antetokounmpo. The kid he's 25 years old. In 3 years, he's going to be the best player in the league. I firmly believe that. I'm going to stand by that. Once the whole LeBron trajectory really it's already at its crest right now. Can we agree there? As soon as that trajectory starts to head back down, I look at Giannis to be the next guy up.
I got one for you. Got a real dark horse idea for you.
For who could dethrone LeBron James as the best player in the world?
No. Who were a team where he could go? That's not a big market, but has some really good other young pieces that you put Giannis with them, and that team might be incredibly formidable. I'll give you Minnesota. That's not a big market at all, but that team, you put him with Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins as your shooting guard, and you can keep Jimmy Butler there. You can have Giannis be your point guard, man. That team would be insane. That team would be insane.
It'd be tough to fit that under the cap.
But here's the thing. I don't know the contract situations of any of those guys. I know Butler's on a little bit of a deal, but and Wiggins. I don't know if they actually did. They just re-sign Wiggins. I can't remember or if they've tried to or whatever. But anyway, man, that would be amazing.
The thing is, like, Giannis has taken Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee, and turned Milwaukee into an international hub on his own. This new stadium that they're building.
Team needs a coach still, but
sure, but. What he has done is basically that new stadium that they're building in Milwaukee, that is truly and utterly the house that Giannis built. The Bradley Center was empty for a decade or more, 2 decades.
Well, it's basically a warehouse. It's really not a great stadium anyway.
That place is full night in, night out. Because Giannis is one of those players where something special happens every single day.
So are they building? I mean, I don't know that much about. Are they building closer to the heart of the city now?
I want to say it's, because the Bradley Center is not that far from downtown, as far as I remember when I was there. But I don't think it's far from the Bradley Center.
Okay.
But they had one of their sales guys on for the Bucks, and he's like, "We've sold more shit. We've sold more season tickets in the last 2 years than we did for a fucking decade." Because
I'm not
Giannis
shocked by that.
he's an international superstar. Like he transcends the continents. There are people overseas that are interested in what Giannis is doing.
Oh, he's a true international star. Yeah.
And the other 100%. Thing is he goes out after road games,
signs autographs and stuff.
And just has a good old time with Greeks. Like Greeks that come to the game to see Giannis. There'd be like a fucking whole section full of people. He'll come out after he takes a shower, sign autographs, and hang out with the Greek fans.
I would like to see...
He's a true small-town kid.
I would like to see Giannis Antetokounmpo and Zach Galifianakis out at a bar together with a bunch of drunken fans that have to say their names correctly to get a drink.
That sounds like an SNL bit.
You know what? That would be an excellent sketch for SNL. 100%. 100%.
When he was drafted, David Stern couldn't even pronounce his name.
How many people in a drunken bar at midnight with those two guys do you think would actually get that right? Be a pretty small number
without knowing who they are.
Well, that would be another spin.
I'm sure there are plenty of people that don't know who one of those two guys is.
That's true, but even if you know, if you're a little intoxicated and you're not speaking totally clearly, you probably slurred a little bit.
I love the guy, and I still don't know if I say his name right.
I think his name is Giannonis Antimantantitis. I don't know what the hell his name is.
He doesn't even have a name. He doesn't even have an S in his name. Oh, man.
I just tried to go as
My
much.
expectations for the rest of the night are to do many, many more recreational drugs.
I just wanted to go as much off the rails with that as I possibly could. Just adding syllables.
If you get a chance to check out the piece, I would do it. He's going to be your favorite player, too.
I like Giannis.
To answer the question about where the stadium's going to be, it's going to be right next to the old center.
Right next to the Bradley Center.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's pretty much where I thought they were building it.
Okay.
That place is going to be just incredible.
These pictures of it, it looks...
So are they going to keep the Bradley Center up and just turn it into a practice facility?
I have no idea what they're going to do. Because it is probably the worst arena in the NBA.
Well, it's like a warehouse, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like super dead.
Yeah.
In terms of its.
I mean, there you go. Look at it right next to it.
Oh, literally right next to it.
We're giving Milwaukee some play on this show.
Milwaukee.
I like that town. It's like baby Chicago.
I agree.
Have you ever been? Dave?
I have not.
You ever been to the Mill Town?
Nope.
It's fun.
Is that what they call it? I doubt it.
I mean, for the sake of our show, we'll go ahead and just do that. We'll just call it that.
Dude, sticking to basketball, though.
Basketball.
Fucking Zeke Upshaw, man.
Oh,
I don't know that everybody's heard this story. Remember the Grand Rapids Drive, who basically passed out on was it over the weekend he passed out on the floor?
Yeah, it was, it would have, well, it wasn't yesterday, it would have the day before. It would have been
Saturday.
Saturday.
He fucking passes out on the floor.
Saturday evening game.
And nobody, judging by the video we watched, nobody seemed to be in a hurry to get him off the floor.
Well, and it's pretty clear.
He died today in the hospital.
Yeah, listening to the clip that you played.
I think I have it here.
Broadcast that even like the announcers really don't know what happened because they keep mentioning something like he must have had a collision. Because nobody really understands what's going on.
And when you can't see it on the video, because he's in like the bottom corner of the screen, and you can't see him go down.
But more importantly, a win, and they're automatically in. Whitehead quickly trying to move on Hearn. Goes up with a double clutch right hand, no call. And the rebound by Noko as he clears it. And now we've got a player down, and Zeke Upshaw.
He is just face planted on the floor.
Is on his stomach. I did not see the contact. And he's being tended to on the far side in the right corner. I'm seeing a little bit of movement.
And they're not in any hurry to get him off the floor.
You know, it's such a weird. They don't know.
Just a collision.
Nobody knows what's
for a brief
going on.
Moment. I hope that is nothing more serious.
And here's what I'm saying too. What I'm thinking as we're watching this before. I'm wondering if he was even remotely responsive at all at this moment. Like because the way that they're hovering over him and dealing with this is almost like it would be if let's say it's an NFL player that gets hurt,
a head injury or a neck injury,
who is clearly awake and aware, but they're trying to find out what's going on based off what that player is saying to them, right? That's what this seems like. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't look to me like he's moving at all.
Here's the thing, like you've got to see from the sideline, and for those who don't know, Zeke Upshaw is a member of the Detroit Pistons G League affiliate, the Grand Rapids Drive, and you've got to be able to see from the sideline that he just fucking fell down. Like if a guy just fucking passes out on the floor, dude, you got to be in a hurry to get his ass up off the floor.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be, cardiac arrest. That's
catastrophic.
That's what he went into, and he was in critical condition through the weekend, and he passed away this morning. It's an absolute ridiculous freak fucking thing. 26 years old, and you got to believe it was some sort of pre-existing heart condition. A 26-year-old doesn't just die of a heart attack on a basketball court.
Typically, especially when you're an athlete, you're a well-conditioned person. People like that don't just have their heart give out for zero reason. There's that almost without fail. There's something pre-existing, and the thing that I always find interesting with these types of issues is, especially a guy who's an athlete and is around medical people all the time with team physicians and stuff, you would think that these guys are going through routine physicals, right? How is that not caught?
That shit that just doesn't show up on physicals. Like it happens with high school players all the time. That's why they have that student heart check program. Like you got to go through a specific test to be to find out that you have some of these heart conditions. And even then, some of them there really are no tests for. You don't know until the guy has a heart attack, because I would think that I realize he's a G League player, but he's still a professional basketball player.
Right. You
would think that his heart has been put through some sort of test to see if there's any sort of pre-existing condition, and either that, either they didn't find anything or he never received that test.
Right.
But you would think, these organizations and these professional basketball clubs, whether it's the G League or the NBA or wherever, they've got the resources to test everybody's heart. I'm just flabbergasted how a guy can pass out on the floor, face down, face first, and it takes you 5 fucking minutes to get the guy off the floor and into an ambulance.
It's terrible all the way around. Terrible all the way around. And and one of the things that I always think is, like, when I hear about this, and I mean, you brought up some of the high schoolers that have been well publicized that have had these kind of things happen to them, right? And you never imagine that kind of thing happening to a kid who's 18 years old. But it scares you a little bit.
Yeah,
because I mean, I've had mostly routine physicals for most of my life, right? But I've never had to have been tested or had any reason to think I should be tested for any type of a heart condition. Why would you think that? If you're a relatively healthy individual, especially as young as we all still are, why would you think that would be something you got to look into, right? So, and I'm sure that's exactly where anybody who's especially a professional athlete like this guy, you don't think, oh, well, I better get my heart checked.
Next time you're at the gym and your chest starts burning, you're gonna start freaking out.
I'm telling you, man. You get a little sore one day on doing some chest and pec work, and you wake up sore the next morning. You're like, oh, I'm gonna die. Like, I mean, it's insanity.
I hope some more details. I hope some more details. I don't really think there are many more details to come out.
There's none right now.
I know that the Grand Rapids Drive put out a statement, but it's just I want to know what was going through the heads of the doctors and the training staff on the court. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well,
you wouldn't have more urgency. Like look at back in the day when Uri Fisher passes out on the Red Wings bench. Like, they could not have revived him or been there any fucking faster.
He was dead without that.
Yeah.
He would not be alive if it wasn't for that response.
So what's the difference here?
Should be none. I mean, look, I hate to say this, but like you would hope. I understand the G League is different than the NBA, right? So you have the highest level, and then you have guys that are a little under that. But you still should treat all of these athletes the same when it comes to their medicals, right? There shouldn't be any drop off in medical response depending on the league you're in. So, like, look, I know that the Uri Fisher thing you brought up, that was the absolute highest pro level, was NHL, and this is G League, so it's under the NBA.
It's unprecedented. They canceled the third period, or they postponed the third period,
but
they ended the game.
You just can't. You can't mess around with this stuff, and they should have the same level of medical attention and medical response and medical teams at this level of pro as they do at the pro level. So the level of doctor should not be any different for the G League as it is in the NBA.
I just want an explanation. Like, I don't want to be
been nothing.
I don't want to put like blame on this training staff or anything, because I don't know what was going through their minds. I don't know how responsive Zeke Upshaw was while he was face down on the floor. But watching the video, I'm going, what in the fuck are you doing? Why are you taking so long to get a stretcher out there, to get an ambulance? Like, I understand you don't want to cause panic, but it's like, this is a guy's life in your hands right now. You know what I mean? And I know that there's not there's not an athletic trainer in the world that's ready for this to happen. You don't expect this shit. You expect twisted ankles and busted up knees and broken legs. You don't expect this shit. You don't expect a guy with no contact to just pass out face first on a basketball court. But it's still something you got to be ready for.
You know what I've always wondered, as we're talking about medical professionals in regards to sports, Do you think, because you talk about all the different types of injuries that these guys are probably more accustomed to seeing and are more anticipating having to look at, as opposed to this kind of a situation, which, as you stated, is very relatively uncommon, right? Thank God it's relatively uncommon. But do you think some of those crazy catastrophic injuries, like the Joe Theismann stuff, like Kevin Ware,
yeah,
like Gordon Hayward at the beginning of this year, do you think even a medical professional who has been trained to deal with any injury that he's going to come across is still going like, holy shit? Like, you got to think there, even for somebody like that, it's not like a oh my god freak out moment, but you got to be going like, holy shit, like, because that's not typical, right?
Well, I just remember the whole Kevin Ware injury. He had his teammates were, a couple of them were like almost throwing up.
Yeah.
And then a couple of them were kind of held their cool and like held Kevin Ware down like, dude, don't look at it.
Well,
because if you look at it,
right in front of their bench.
Yeah. If you look at it, you don't want him to look at it.
Well, if he looked at it, he might have passed out.
That's it. We would have gone into shock.
It's unreal. That was absolutely unreal. It was like he came down his leg all of a sudden in one moment was a toothpick. That was absolutely absurd.
Bone spurs, microfractures. You see that all the time.
Crazy.
Shin splints, microfractures, all that mess.
And if you're an NFL player, concussions. All day, every day.
Well,
pretty much.
Speaking of the NFL, Bob Quinn, that was a good segue. Bob Quinn coming out today giving his reasoning
to do that.
For cutting Eric Ebron. Finally gave his reasoning, as if we needed it. And I think
segue.
I think his reasoning was only about half true. Bob Quinn coming out today and saying that cutting Eric Ebron was purely financial.
Oh, I think it's 100% true in the fact that it gave
in the fact that it was only 50%
the best
true.
Possible legit reason to do what he wanted to do 2 years ago. But couldn't really find a legit good reason to say, like, it wasn't like Ebron's production
Don't
was
worry,
so...
Don't worry, Gronk will get hurt, and the Patriots will sign him mid-season.
No, he's already signed.
Oh, wait, who did he sign with?
He signed with Indy.
Oh, that's right. We were here last week. My bad.
And got about 2.5, I think about 2.5 or
no, I remember that.
two and a quarter less than he would have gotten.
I remember the tweet with him holding the fucking helmet.
Yeah. but I mean, look, it came down to this. The Lions, and smartly, and this goes back to everything I've said about Bob Quinn for the last 2 years, which is that he is obviously, as opposed to the GMs that the Lions had the previous 2 tenures, actually understands the cap and how to use it and how to work it and what it means, which is sad. But he realizes how to that there is a number value at basically every position. Right? And the only time that those numbers are altered or that they go askew is for the absolute elite of the elite, right? It's the only time when you might adjust what your figure is for that position. Otherwise, you put basically your own cap on each position group and say, this is what we have for this group. So if we have a guy making too much, we won't be able to fit the rest of the roster together, and that doesn't work for us. So, which is smart. That's called business. So Eric Ebron was going to make way too much money. And Bob Quinn initially, as we heard multiple times, had Eric Ebron. He had him on the trade block, tried to move him, and every other GM that he talked to who had interest in him as a player said, look, we like him. It's not that we don't think he would have value to us in terms of being on the field, but that number's way too high. And Bob Quinn's going, oh, yeah, you think? Why do you think I'm talking to you? So at the end of the day, when it came down to it and the option was either keep him on the roster or eat, I think it's maybe about $1 million, maybe not even a full $1 million.
Actual audio from all the other GMs in the NFL.
Not my problem.
Exactly. But I think it's maybe $1 million worth of cap hit that actually stays on the cap from cutting him. But he saved himself $7.7 million. He said, yeah, it makes sense. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And that money got you, by the way, Luke Wilson. It got you LeGarrette Blount. And it got you Sylvester Williams. And actually, that didn't even cover the full 7.7.
It got you movie star Luke Wilson?
Luke Wilson with 2 L's.
From Idiocracy? You got that Luke Wilson?
Yeah, he's the president.
I wonder how good of a football player he's going to be.
I know he's got awesome long hair though, and he's from Ontario, so he's probably really nice.
Does he have a giant chin?
I think he does. He's got like a butt. He probably has a butt chin.
Settle down.
But no, it was clear. It was 2 things. I think it was, and I mean this sincerely, I think it was about 90% financial. I really do. But the other 10% was that I think Bob Quinn for the last 2 years has been looking for at least some sort of a reason, legit reason to say we don't want Eric Ebron on the roster. But the production wasn't like it. It wasn't so terribly bad that you could cut him and say, well, we're cutting him just to cut him.
I don't think most people would have complained.
No, that's true. But I also don't think Bob Quinn is worried about his decisions in regards to the fan base.
It's things like that, and not just with Eric Ebron, but with some of the other moves that he's made. It's things like that most Lions fans, and fuck that, all Lions fans, aren't used to seeing. We're used to seeing GMs here overpay for players, bring in washed-up veterans, sometimes for too much money, sometimes not, but still not really going to do a whole lot for the team. We are not used to seeing in this town a GM that's going to make those frugal moves or non-moves that are going to give you a chance to put that money in a better place. That's what we haven't seen. Like you can even turn to the Ndamukong Suh deal. Literally, we lucked out as Lions fans that Ndamukong Suh did not return to Detroit because he almost did. It's like we talked about, a $4 million difference is the only reason. Literally, he didn't come back here because he just simply couldn't be afforded by the Lions. That was the only reason. There was no way to fit him in under the cap.
Correct.
So, can you imagine if you had that extra $4 million, where the Lions would be sitting right now? They'd be sitting in probably even a worse place than what Miami was with Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, and even Miami decided, yeah, I think we're going to go and get out of this.
Yeah. Gee, I can't imagine why. Guy gets paid, doesn't play anymore. If I swear to God, it's a defensive tackle problem. Overpaid defensive tackles is exactly what it is.
Well, hey,
happened with Albert Hainsworth. It's happened over and over again.
Hey, on a smaller
defensive tackles.
Even on a smaller scale, to your point, you look at a guy that a lot of Lions fans were actually hoping that the Lions would look into when he got released about 10 days ago. That's Jonathan Hankins, right? Signs a pretty big 3-year contract with the Colts. Plays 1 year for them. It's a decent year. That
idea ain't worth a velvet painting of a whale and a dolphin getting it on.
His strengths are basically what Sylvester Williams' strengths are, and I'm sure you got Sylvester Williams a lot cheaper than you would have gotten Jonathan Hankins. And I think at this point, and like Jeff said on Thursday, any Lions fans who, when some of the bigger names were being bandied about.
Did you say like Jeff said on Thursday?
Like my woman consensual.
Absolutely. I mean, don't we all, though, really? But that's because we're normal. No, but like Jeff said on Thursday, any Lions fans that are disappointed or wondering
like
why.
Like my woman consensual.
Yeah. Or wondering why the Lions didn't go out and acquire a couple of the bigger name guys that were on the market at positions of need, not just random guys on the market, but at positions of need for the Lions. Bob Quinn has said it for forever. Like Jeff said, he said it at the beginning of the offseason. He pretty much laid out the fact that the Lions, barring anything unforeseen, were not going to be players for the big time names in free agency, just because they weren't going to spend all of their assets on 2 guys. Mm-hmm. They're looking to build depth. They're looking to build specific spots on the roster, and they have stuck to that as and this is the other thing. You have your head coach and your general manager on the same playing field, on the same page, and they know exactly what kind of roster they're trying to build. Matt Patricia knows exactly what kind of what types of players he needs to fill the spots on his, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to do the things that he's going to want to do defensively. And you go out and you get those guys, and so far they have done an excellent job of filling those spots with guys of value without spending a bunch of money. They've done a tremendous job with the cap.
You just get the idea that they're doing this involved in this novel concept of actually building a system to fit the players as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, and I mean, look, case in point, the Lions have signed, well, technically, if you think about re-signing Nick Bellore, who is really a big-time special teamer, who also has some ability to play linebacker, but they have gone out and basically signed 4 linebackers, and other than Bellore, who, again, as I said, I think is really being brought back to be a key special teamer more than anything, you go out and sign, let's look at the other 3 guys. You go out and sign 3 linebackers, one of them today, Jonathan Freeney, 3 guys who are big bodies, more physical, and that is very much what Matt Patricia has been accustomed to using in his defense when he was in New England. Bigger guys who can be put out wide to be a pass rusher because they have enough size to do that, or you can put them in coverage. They're going to be versatile. You're not looking to have you're not looking to necessarily have 3 linebackers who are all pros. You don't have to have that to have a successful defense. You have to have a coordinator and a coach that knows how to use his players, and you have to have guys that fit what you're trying to do. But, like you said, the beautiful thing is, it's this novel concept of actually working your scheme and your game plan around the players you have.
And supplementing pieces.
Kind of amazing, isn't it?
It's just
kind of amazing.
Lions fans have no idea what they're in for.
No.
They have no idea what they're about to see. They're about to see something that they've never seen before. Now, does this mean the Lions are going to go out and win a Super Bowl? No, it doesn't mean that. But you're going to see you're going to see an actual plan actually put in place. Because what we've seen over the past 15 years is just on a whim, throwing shit together at the last second. How do we grab this piece? How do we grab this piece? Just jumbling it up in a blender and throwing it out on the field. Some seasons it's worked better than others. Some seasons it's been fucking shit. But now you're actually seeing a recipe put together here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you. Any Lions fan out there who's been all aboard the train and doesn't think that this organization has had a serious problem for the past 30 years or more, now you're really going to see what I mean. You're really going to see.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun to watch.
And here's the other beautiful thing about what they've done in free agency is, and I think the Sylvester Williams signing was actually really big for them. For 2 reasons. One, it legitimately fills a need in the sense that what you lost the most down the field again with Haloti Ngata leaving for the Eagles is you lost that big run stuffing nose tackle type of player, right? And that's Sylvester Williams' biggest strength is as a run stopper. So you fill that gap, right? And so now, but the other part of that, I think we talked about this a little bit on Thursday, but the other part of that, and it's not a small thing, is that you now have put yourself in a position back with the draft where you can legitimately take the guy who is the best value when it comes up for your pick, instead of having to say, look, we have such a deep hole at defensive tackle that we have to look at that position. That's not to say that the best guy available might not be a defensive tackle, because it might be.
Yeah.
And if that's the guy, great. But you don't have to pigeonhole yourself now. You can trust your board and go with that. And trust me, I know these guys have done their due diligence with their board and have put a lot of work in and are still putting work in with some of these pro days and stuff. But you're in a lot better position draft-wise where you can trust the work that you've done and not have to feel like you're scrambling to fill a specific spot. You take the best player regardless of position, because if he's really good, doesn't matter what position he's playing, you're going to find a spot for him. It's pretty simple.
It's incredibly
simple.
It's an incredibly novel concept.
Yeah, it really is. I
screaming for this shit for years.
I do think at this point, though, the one position, which still is a position of need, the one position that I don't expect them to take in the first round, just based on where things are going, is running back. Because I think even if Darius Geis is there, unless every other good defensive tackle or defensive end or that kind of a player has been taken off the board, which is not going to happen, I think they're more likely to go defensively in the first round than running back.
It just depends on how high they would on how high they are on a guy like Darius.
I mean, if Geis is like the number 2 player on their board and he's there, you're probably right. They'll take him, but I don't expect that because I think there's some really good guys that are going to be
Do we have anything else to get to? Did you wish D-Mac a happy anniversary? What happened there?
I did. Nothing.
No. Nothing.
I said my piece.
Good for you. What'd you say to him?
I said happy fight day anniversary, D-Mac.
You didn't even ask him if he wanted to come on the show?
No, because I didn't get a response to happy anniversary. So I mean, what am I supposed to
do? All right, you'll probably get a response at like 3 in the morning when he wakes up
from his weed coma.
Yeah, when he wakes up from his Mary Jane coma. All right, we can terminate this podcast then. I'm sure we'll have D-Mac on at some point. Yeah, it was all right. We had a good time. We got a new Jeff drop.
Like my woman consensual.
It's almost like he hiccuped on that one. What happened there?
By the way, Pistons look a little different with Reggie.
I know. For some reason, Dave's still paying attention to the Pistons.
I really haven't watched that much. I've watched a little bit, and I followed along. And you said it too little, too late, which is 100% true for the year. The year is done. This year is done for them. But this team is all about next year. All about next year.
Good. We'll see. Go out and grab yourself a 4 seed next year. Get bounced in the playoffs. You've been listening to
LeBron will be out of the East.
Well, that may be true. You've been listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. David Faze, Mike Tripp, and myself, Dan Griffin. And please go to sportsradiodetroit.com. Vote for all your favorite ladies in round 2 of the Detroit's top female personality brackets.
It's a shorter time period this time.
That's
you don't
true.
have as much time to vote.
In fact, yeah. And this will be the only show I'll get to promote it Thursday at midnight.
Yeah.
Get out there and
woo. We can promote it Thursday if we're on Facebook Live.
That's true.
That's
we
about
can
it.
do that. We didn't do Facebook Live tonight. I didn't feel like it.
It's too much work. We're all tired.
I'm the captain of this ship. I decide when we do Facebook Live. Anyway, David Faze, Mike Tripp, myself, Dan Griffin, sportsradiodetroit.com. And until Thursday, we are out of here. Oh, by the way, Thursday's opening day. Holy shit.
That's right.
That snuck up on me. Okay, now we're actually out of here.